Hi my beauties, my name is Dr. Stefani Kappel and I'm a board certified fellowship trained cosmetic dermatologist in Newport Beach, California. And today I'm going to be talking about tech neck and tech neck creases. So those little annoying horizontal lines that we get in the neck that are anatomical, they're usually genetic, but they can be exacerbated or worsened by looking down, staring down at our computer screens, staring down at our phones and our tablets all day. And no matter what we do, even if we try to get into the habit of holding our phones upright, once those etched in lines are there, they're really hard to treat, but there are ways that we can safely and effectively treat them. And then there's some component of maintenance overall that has to happen because, as we say in dermatology, we can't change genetics, we can't change your anatomy. We can make things look better, but sometimes there's maintenance over time that has to take place to maintain your results. So before I move on, I ask that you like, subscribe, and drop a comment in the comment section asking me anything or even just bringing up topics that you want me to talk about, because all my content is non-sponsored. I don't do any paid sponsorships or have any affiliate with any companies because I like to just basically recommend what I feel is best for my patients and not because a company is paying me to do so. So please share this video because the only way to grow is by word of mouth and old school organic growth, which is more my vibe. So moving back to tech neck creases are something that can be present from childhood, adolescence, when you're younger, and can progress as you get older and just worsen, as you become older, you gain wisdom and you have birthdays. But it's nothing to beat yourself up over, and it's something that's very, very common. So I see patients of all ages, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, even 80s in my clinic, and I do 100% cosmetics in my clinic. I'm fellowship trained to do so, and I see about 20 to 30 patients a day. And a lot of times, patients will complain of the tech neck creases, even if they're in their early 20s and it's bothersome to them. And I totally get it. And my job is to make people feel like the best version of themselves and not to completely change your anatomy or to completely erase, which is something that's genetically inherited, but just soften it and make it look better with safe and effective treatments that actually work. So in today's video, I'll cover different treatments, and there's two main treatments that really work well for tech neck creases. And I'll go over those, but I'll also talk about some treatments that are maybe pretty much okay, but not like as slam dunk as the two treatments that I'm going to start off with. So the first treatment is Botox. Botox is a neuromodulator, and it can be any neuromodulator, Jeuveau, Dysport, Xeomin, even Daxxify now, the longer-lasting neuromodulator, or Botox. And the way we treat tech neck creases is you do little incremental droplets, little injections along the horizontal lines. And what that does is it just relaxes the muscle, the thin muscle that's right underneath the surface of the skin called the platysma. The platysma is a very broad, very flat, thin muscle that goes from the midface all the way down to the clavicle of the bone right here. And what happens is the skin on top, especially when it's thinner, which is why when you get older, your skin thins and the horizontal creases become more etched in over time. It grabs onto the platysma, the muscle underneath, and it just tightens and it contracts without even when you're at rest, even not meaning to contract your neck muscles, even just holding your head up. Those muscles are always kind of contracting and will cause exacerbation of those horizontal lines. So when you relax the muscle, very small, very, very gingerly injections of neuromodulator, about 1 unit across the whole horizontal band, sorry, I just hit my mic, but it will help relax that underlying muscle tone to make the horizontal lines relax. Now, sometimes in my younger patients, you can erase it completely, depending how severe they are. If they're younger and they're pretty deep etched in lines, we may have to take it a step further and get into biostimulatory fillers, which I'll talk about in a second. But for the most part, the Botox will either really significantly improve and soften those lines or may take them away altogether. I never do more than 20 units in the neck. That's just me. That's just from experience. I never like to do more than that, and usually not more than that is needed. If you need more than 20 units in the neck, then you should probably be combining it with another therapy, because over 20 units won't work as well, and then you don't want to cause something called dysphagia or difficulty swallowing, and that's the mistake that a lot of newer injectors make. They just douse the neck to make the horizontal creases go away, and then the patient can't swallow as well. You can still swallow, but it takes some effort into swallowing, which should normally be effortless, right? So Botox can go a long way with horizontal creases. And the other treatment is biostimulatory fillers. Now, biostimulatory fillers, the two that we use in the United States, are polylactic acid, which is Sculptra, and calcium hydroxyapatite, which is Radiesse. Now, hyperdilute radius is when we water down a syringe of radius, and that is the indicated dosing that we should use for neck laxity, horizontal lines, and injecting in a thin, delicate area like the neck. When we do radius in other areas of the body, like mid-face, mid-face or jawline, it's just straight up from the injection, the syringe, and how it comes. You don't have to hyperdilute it or water it down. But when treating the horizontal creases, anecdotal data and studies and presented research and data at our meetings has shown that hyperdilute radius performs the best. There is a risk with both of the biostimulatory fillers, Sculptra and Radius, that there can be nodules that form. If the nodules form for Sculptra, which I rarely use Sculptra, I don't think I've ever used Sculptra for horizontal neck bands because I've just heard too many incidences of nodules forming. I use Sculptra all day, every day in the mid-face, in the booty, other areas, but not for the thin, delicate neck skin. Radius performs better as an injectable in that area. And again, I've been practicing cosmetic dermatology for over 15 years. I've used different things. I've seen a lot. I've heard a lot. And just from experience, Radius is my preferred biostimulatory filler for horizontal neck creases. I use a cannula. There could be some bruising and swelling around the area that we treat the horizontal neck bands. It's usually not too bad. If a patient had some red wine the night before or had some, fish oil or Advil or anything that thins the blood, the risk for bruising can be exacerbated, but for most intents and purposes, it's usually not. There's hardly any downtime at all. You may have like a little swelling, tiny bit of bruising, but really it's pretty negligible. So doing biostimulatory fillers induces your skin's own regenerative processes to make collagen, elastin, and it just really does a beautiful job of just smoothing out those horizontal bands. So sometimes we'll treat a patient with Botox and then we'll have them come back. If the creases are gone, perfect, that's all they need. But if they need a little bit more something or they're not happy with it and they want them erased even further, then we take it to biostimulatory fillers. And after we do, for example, one treatment of Radius, I'll have them come back a month later, and if they still want a little bit more, then you add 2 or 3 more treatments. So on average, depending on how deep those neck creases are, you'll need anywhere from 1 to 3 treatments. I rarely need more than 3. Sometimes I need more than 1, but sometimes 1 treatment will knock it out of the park and the patient will be happy. And the results last for about 2 to 3 years. And so, like we say in dermatology all the time, we can't change anatomy, we can't change genetics, but we can make things look better. But by default, you'll sometimes go back to your baseline. So 2 to 3 years later, if those horizontal neck bands come back, then you do another treatment to kind of bring you back to where you were before. So there is some maintenance involved, but it's easier to maintain your results than it is to get from your baseline to erasing those lines. And then the maintenance thereafter is pretty easy. It's kind of like working out. Say you're training for a fitness competition. To go from a non-competition physique to where you're competing, it takes a lot of work. Diet, like cutting fat, like leaning out and getting super, super ripped. And then once you're there, the maintenance to look good isn't as hard as it was to get from your baseline to that competitive level. All organ systems are the same. The musculoskeletal system in fitness is a lot like skin. Skin's an organ-based system that responds the same way. You can think of these treatments as kind of like a workout for your skin. And by default, if you stop doing it, you're going to go back to, your non-fit skin. But if you keep it up, it's just easier to maintain with beautiful results that are long-lasting. So to be honest, neuromodulators and biostimulatory fillers, specifically for me in my practice, Botox and hyperdilute Radius are the way to go. I get the best results that way, happiest patients. Now, treatments, I recently posted another, it was called a turkey neck video where we just talked about laxity and photoaging of the neck. There's lots of different things we can do for that, but this video is specifically targeted to tech neck creases. Fraxel helps. It's good, it's not great for horizontal necklines or tech neck. Thread lifts don't really help. Thread lifts help with laxity and photoaging and saggy, like a saggy turkey neck, but it really doesn't do anything to the horizontal bands. Thermage, same thing. Thermage is an energy-based device. Soft wave, Ultherapy, those are good for tightening loose skin on the neck, but not for horizontal bands. For horizontal bands, you need to relax the muscle with a neuromodulator and fill in the gaps with some biostimulatory filler. Another thing, newer injectors, if you're watching me, do not use a hyaluronic acid filler in the neck. An attending when I was only like 26 or 27 years old, was like, never do hyaluronic acid in somebody's neck. And so as residents, we're like, oh, well, why not? Let's try it out and see what happens. And we injected each other. We all had these lumps in our neck. And we had to use some Vitrace and hyaluronidase to dissolve it. But these are mistakes I got out of my system 20 years ago and have had 15 to 20 years of practice to perfect it. But do not use a hyaluronic acid filler in the neck. It's lumpy. It shows through. The neck skin is way too thin. Biostimulatory fillers, especially Radius, is the way to go. So lasers like Fraxel, Clear and Brilliant, Erbium, CO2, Halo, they will photo rejuvenate the neck. It will erase sun damage. It will help with texture, but horizontal neck creases, not so much. Those will still usually be there. They'll maybe like a small percent better with a laser, but lasers do other amazing things for the neck, but it won't really help your horizontal neck creases. So stick with biostimulatory fillers and Botox. And then one last thing, chemical peels. Same thing as a laser. It will overall make the skin texture and quality tighter and better, but it won't really erase those horizontal etched in lines. And the last thing I wanted to mention is a lot of people will say, well, I have tech neck because I was looking down at my phone and looking down at my computer. That definitely can exacerbate it and make it worse, but don't beat yourself up because it's impossible to go through life looking at your phone up here. I tried it for like a couple months and my arms were sore, my biceps look pretty good, but you can't always live your life like this. Just embrace it. And if you want to treat it, if it bothers you, you can, have these treatments in office to make it look better, but don't beat yourself up trying to maintain certain things. You can adjust. Like if you work from home and you're looking at your screen, make sure your screen's right in front of you. If you have one of those elevator tables and you want to stand up, that will help because the constant looking down at our phones and our computers will exacerbate it. But let's be honest, phones and computers are a big part of our life and we're always on them. So just kind of do what you can to minimize accentuation of those folds, but they would have happened anyways because it's an anatomical variant. And last but not least, neck serums. Now, I love a good neck serum. I have engineered my own skincare line, and Neck Tight is my amazing neck serum, but serums and topicals will minimally improve. They won't really do much for horizontal neck bands. I mean, maybe to a certain extent, acetohexapeptide 8 is in my Neck Tight serum. It's also called argireline. It's kind of like Botox in a bottle. It may, if it's a very thin, very superficial horizontal line, may make it look a little bit better. But really, like I said, the two main effective treatments for horizontal neck bands are biostim fillers and neuromodulators. Serums may help. They'll help with other things. They'll make your neck tighter and brighter and look better. But for those etched in horizontal lines, don't expect a huge outcome using any neck serum for horizontal lines. So I'm just keeping it honest, just keeping it real. Again, this is non-sponsored content, so I can say whatever I want, and I love that because I'm only going to talk about treatments that I do in my office that I see before and afters. I see these patients every day. I see the responses, and if something new comes along for horizontal neck creases or tech neck, I will definitely let you know. Elocore is a new device for the face, but there's no FDA approval yet for neck or horizontal neck creases or tech neck creases for that device, but if it comes out soon, I'll definitely keep you guys in the know. So that was my tech neck video for today. Again, drop a comment in the comment section and let me know what else you guys want to hear about. Love you guys. Thanks for your support.